Welcome to the Depot Sports Extra. I'm Drew Rubenstein here with Matt Tait with the Lawrence Journal-World. Been covering Kansas football for 6 years now.
6 long years. Oh, okay.
But the last couple years have certainly been interesting. The Charlie Weis era, from 1 win to 3 wins, and obviously West Virginia fans remember quite well the game that snapped Jayhawks 27-game losing streak in the Big 12 Conference. And let's start there. What did that win do for Kansas? What did it mean? It was a bad West Virginia team,
sure,
but still, what did it mean for Kansas?
I think it just gave them some hope, that the process could work. I think they really weren't sure until then. I mean, it's one thing to beat a non-conference opponent on a late field goal, which they did last year as well, but it's another thing to beat at least a good opponent from a good league, and I think it just gave them hope that that's possible if they just keep working. And this team has struggled to find victories, and they haven't done a whole lot in that department really during the entire time that I've been covering them. But they've never really quit. They've never really, stopped working. I mean, that's a real testament to the coaching staff and the players themselves. I mean, they keep grinding, and one of these days I feel like karma might kick in, but that was at least karma on that day for them.
That's interesting, and when you look bigger picture-wise, Charlie Weis from 1 win to 3 wins, as we mentioned. Realistically, what are expectations? What's doable for Kansas this season?
I think the fan base just hopes that they keep showing progress. If you go 1-3-5, even if you don't get to a bowl game, I think people would be okay with that. They would see, hey, we're heading in the right direction. I think from an internal perspective, it's a lot different than that. I think all these guys, they got a ton of seniors that have lost a ton of games, and I think they really all believe that this year's going to be different. And they've thought that every year. I can promise you that. But there's something to be said about seniors who believe that. So I would think these guys fully expect to go to a bowl game and shock the world, as everybody likes to say. So it's really 2 different phases there. The fan base has one level of expectation, but the higher expectation is in the program.
Sure. Offensively wise, Montel Cozart comes back, already been named the starting quarterback, right? But then John Reagan's the new offensive coordinator, somebody that Kansas fans are familiar with previously. But is he going to keep things going as they were? Is he going to completely change the offense? What sorts of changes?
He was brought in to be totally different from the pro-style offense that Coach Weis ran, and the offense that didn't work. I mean, K's really struggled to score points during Charlie's first 2 years. And to his credit, this is a guy that has a lot of pride and really believes his way works. But every week of every season, and including this move, he's, hey, if that doesn't work, I'll throw it out and try something else. So for a guy with that kind of pride, and a lot of people think he has an enormous ego, he really has tried everything, and he hasn't just sat there and said, well, I'm Charlie Weis, my way works. I mean, he's really tried everything. This is the biggest sign of that, and so he's brought Reagan in to change it to fit the Big 12 more. I mean, the pro-style drop-back thing doesn't work in this conference, and it really doesn't work in college very well. So Reagan will bring this more spread, up-tempo, no-huddle type of thing, and I think they have the pieces that'll fit in there nicely.
Was that interesting decision by Charlie Weis? It shows that he's willing to evolve, but do you think it was tough for him to come to that, or was it just necessary given how the 2 years went?
Yeah,
what was your take
probably
there?
Probably a little of both. I'm sure it was tough. It's always tough to admit what you do doesn't work, or admit you're wrong. So I'm sure it wasn't easy for him, but he never wavered, and he didn't say it today. I really thought he would, but his big line is, if I would have thought it worked, I wouldn't have fired the offensive coordinator, which of course he was, So he likes to make the joke about that, but I think that he really understood that it needed to happen for this team to have a chance, and above all, above the ego, above the pride, above everything, all the guy wants to do is win games and get the results that he feels like his team deserves.
To be fair, and see how you answer this one, but you mentioned fans want to see steps in the right direction.
Sure.
Everybody on the outside knows Kansas as a basketball school first and foremost, but still, the football program, they're having steps to try to get there. Is there pressure on Charlie Weis to take steps in the right direction if it's another 1, 2, 3 win type of season? Is he on the hot seat? Does he potentially lose his job? How much pressure do you think he feels going into this season?
I think the fans would be pretty upset if they don't, continue to show progress. Yeah. I think they gave him a pass in year 1 because everybody understands that transition is different and part of the process. But I think that if there's if they go backwards, I don't think anybody's going to be happy with that. And the thing about KU fans is, yeah, they're pretty diehard basketball, and they're pretty much, always and only about basketball, but really they're not asking for a ton from their football program. They want to be relevant. They want to be competitive. They like to have a chance to win 6 games every year and maybe make a bowl and have some fun with it. They don't need it to be elite. They already have that with basketball, but I think the biggest thing is they just don't want it to be an embarrassment. And it's been borderline embarrassing for the better part of the last 5 years, So last year I think they took some significant steps, but unfortunately, you could make all the progress you want in little areas. If it doesn't show up in the win column, it's not going to make anybody happy.
Kansas has been relevant too in football and not the too distant
future.
So I mean, it's been proven that it can happen.
Yeah.
And so going along those lines, you mentioned some of the upperclassmen. There are some in the program. When you look at this season, I don't know if you want to put a win on it, but a win total on it.
Sure.
But what do you foresee for this season? What are your what's your take on this season?
I think they have a chance to actually do what they want to do, which is be in position to qualify for a bowl game. I won't predict that because I think that's taken a major leap there. But I do think with the seniors on this team and the talent they have, their defense is pretty good and they're returning almost everybody. It comes down to the quarterback, Montel Kozar. If he can play at a Big 12 level and deliver, and they can score more points, then I think their defense can hang in there, and I think they'll be in a lot of games. So I think it's very possible for them to win 4 or 5 games, but I don't know that I could go all the way to that bowl game.
Yeah.
But really, it just kind of is one of those things that can sort of snowball. If they can, the biggest game I think by far is at Duke in the second week. If they can win that game, which will be tough, then you never know what can happen. That'll give them that belief that they can win. If they can't, then it might be a here we go again type of thing. So
no, that's interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I always get scared predicting win totals.
I know that feeling.
It's a really hard thing to do with a program like this, but it's part of the fun for sure.
It is, and it seems like the Big 12 is open. I mean, Oklahoma and Baylor are clear-cut favorites, but from there it seems like nobody would really be surprised with the rest of the order. From there.
Sure. Yeah, you never know. It's a tough league year in and year out, though.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, good stuff, Matt. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem.
And we'll be in touch the week of the WVU Kansas game, and please continue to check ddpost.com for the latest on the Mountaineers. Thanks for watching today.